Hi everyone, I'm Brittany. Thanks for listening to my proposal today on lifelong lessons for healthy eating. During the presentation, I'm going to review my proposal with you in detail and cover each section so you'll have a good idea of how my study will be carried out. The lifelong lessons study will be addressing fruit and vegetable intake among children in grades 3 through 5. As of now, 60% of children do not eat enough fruit to meet daily recommendations, and 93% of children don't eat enough vegetables. This trend of low intake of fruits and vegetables is associated with higher rates of cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, and obesity. The recommended daily intake for children ages 4 to 13 is 1 to 1.5 cups per day of fruit and 1.5 to 2.5 cups per day of vegetables, according to My Plate. The main objectives of the lifelong lessons study is to increase the percentage of children who meet the My Plate daily fruit and vegetable intake recommendations to 50%. The secondary objectives of the intervention are that 75% of fruits come from whole fruits rather than fruit juice, and that 75% of vegetables come from vegetables other than potatoes. It is expected that through classroom-style learning, gardening, cooking demonstrations, taste tests, and hands-on activities, that the children in the intervention group will consciously choose to increase their fruit and vegetable intake once the intervention time is over. These activities will occur over the course of one semester during the school year and will aim to educate using the social cognitive theory. This intervention is based on several studies that have been successful in the past, including the 5-a-day Power Plus program, Produce for Better Health, and the Garden Pilot Project. According to these studies, increasing fruits and vegetable consumption in children is a reachable goal. The 5-a-day Power Plus program was a randomized school-based trial that took place in 20 elementary schools in Minnesota. The interventionists used the social learning theory to implement behavior change, and it consisted of 4 components: behavioral curricula, parental involvement, and education, school food service changes, and industry involvement and support. At the end of the study, higher intakes of fruits, vegetables, vitamin A, and vitamin C were observed, and all were statistically significant except vegetable intake. The Garden Pilot Program took a different approach and used strategies such as fruit and vegetable taste tests, preparation of fruit and vegetable snacks, and family newsletters sent home to parents. During the study's follow-up survey, children reported a significant increase in the number of fruits and vegetables eaten, specifically cucumbers, spinach, radishes, peppers, zucchini, and beets. According to the studies I reviewed, behavioral interventions in children have demonstrated a change in intake ranging from no increase at all to an increase of 2.7 servings daily, with an estimated average increase in intake in the intervention groups of positive 0.65 servings per day, which is why I chose this approach for my intervention. Throughout the intervention, I will use the social cognitive theory to implement behavior change among the study participants. The theory suggests that learning occurs in a social context, with dynamic and reciprocal interaction of the person, environment, and behavior. There are 6 main constructs of this theory, and those are reciprocal determinism, behavioral capability, observational learning, reinforcement, outcome expectations, and self-efficacy. It's through these constructs that the behavior change process will be carried out throughout the intervention. The first construct, reciprocal determinism, refers to the interaction between a person, their environment, and behavior, as you can see in the image on the right. This multi-layered intervention will use reciprocal determinism to influence fruit and vegetable intake because the activities will incorporate all 3 of these factors. The next two constructs, behavioral capability, the actual ability to perform a behavior, and observational learning, will be present in the classroom-style sessions where students will be taught to perform the activities. The next construct, reinforcements, will be used throughout the intervention by providing positive rewards such as taste tests and negative reinforcements like teaching the risks of not eating enough fruits and vegetables. Outcome expectations, which refers to the perceived positive and negative consequences of behavior, will be addressed through teaching healthy eating patterns and their positive effects. And the last construct, self-efficacy, refers to a person's confidence in his or her ability to successfully perform the behavior. Self-efficacy will be assessed through the intervention during evaluation methods like the Health Behavior Questionnaire. 60 million U.S. children spend a significant amount of their day, each day, in schools or childcare. So these places can have an impact on children's health and their lifelong food choices, which is why I chose a school-based randomized controlled trial. Two schools will be recruited for the study. One will be assigned to the intervention and one will be assigned to the control. This ensures that school-wide activities will not be interfered with. The school receiving the intervention will participate in the classroom-style learning sessions, gardening, cooking, and take-home activities, and the control school will receive no intervention. After reading a systematic review of several behavior interventions regarding fruit and vegetable intake, I observed that the range of population sizes was 53 to 3,966 adolescents, with the average size being around 700. Since the entire 3rd to 5th grades will be included, approximately 300 students will be recruited between the intervention and control groups. 150 of the students will receive the intervention and 150 of the students will receive no intervention, and they'll be the control group. This is a 17-week intervention, which will take up approximately all of the first semester of the school year. Now I'm going to briefly discuss the activities that the intervention group will complete. During week 1, the students will learn the outline of the intervention and why it's being done. They will also complete their baseline evaluation, including the health behavior survey and 24-hour food recall. Students will be told the objectives of the intervention and briefed on the MyPlate guidelines and intake recommendations. They'll also be taught how to identify quantities of fruits and vegetables so that they can tell what one serving is. During week 2, the students will identify common and uncommon fruits and vegetables using a matching bingo game in which the instructor will call out the name of a fruit or vegetable that the students may or may not know, and the student will have a bingo card with pictures of the fruit and vegetable on it. This will allow the students to begin to familiarize themselves with unknown fruits and vegetables. And this is an example of what the bingo card might look like. During weeks 3 and 4, the students will have a lesson in which they'll learn the importance of eating fruits and vegetables, as well as the consequences of not eating a healthy diet. And they'll also learn some of the vitamin and mineral basics, and will design a series of posters to hang in the cafeteria to promote fruit and vegetable eating. Weeks 5, 6, and 7 will include the gardening aspect of the program, in which the students will choose which types of fruits and vegetables they'll want to plant, and they'll plan out the details of the garden. They'll also learn basic planting skills and begin planting fruits and vegetables in the designated areas. The students will be given some freedom in choosing what they want to plant, but some examples of things that they will plant are tomatoes, asparagus, raspberries, blueberries, beets, carrots, eggplant, kale, and summer squash. Most will be in seed form, but some things like blueberries, tomatoes, raspberries will need to be planted in bush form. And this is an example of what some of the posters that the kids will make to hang in the cafeteria will look like, and that will promote fruit and vegetable eating. Now we're going to move on to week 8, which is the halfway point, and the students will be re-evaluated using the same methods as at baseline, which are the health behavior survey and 24-hour recall. There will also be a review of popular fruits and vegetables so that the students are constantly being exposed to the same fruits and vegetables in hopes that it will increase their intake. Repeated exposure was a common practice in the studies that I reviewed and discussed at the beginning of the presentation. During weeks 9 and 10, the students will be given the opportunity to taste different fruits and vegetables that were previously identified and will be asked to rate them. I think this is a really important activity because it allows the students the opportunity to try new fruits like kale, Brussels sprouts, figs, pineapples that they might love but have never had the opportunity to try before. They'll rate the fruits and vegetables on a Likert scale, which is an example of ordinal ranking. And it'll be from yuck to tastes okay to tastes good to yum. Next, during week 11, the students will take part in a cooking demonstration. During the cooking lesson, the students will watch the instructor, learn basic safety skills like hand washing and wearing gloves and knife safety, and they'll see the instructor prepare a healthy dish. For this activity, I wanted to choose a healthy snack that was fun and would get the kids excited about the cooking lesson. So I chose grilled pepper frogs. These are easy and fun to make, and the kids are going to be given the opportunity to take the recipe home with them. Finally, during weeks 12 and 13, the students will have the opportunity to use what they learned the previous week to prepare a healthy fruit in week 12 and vegetable in week 13. And for examples of fruits and vegetable dishes that they'll be making, I put down things like fruit salad, parfait, or fruit platter, or something like kale chips for the vegetable dish. During week 14, the students will harvest the fruits and vegetables that they planted in the garden during weeks 15 and 16, and they'll use these foods to prepare a healthy snack. Finally, in week 17, the students will complete the follow-up health behavior survey and 24-hour recall and discuss what they've learned during the intervention. Throughout the semester, the students will be expected to listen to the instructor, complete the activities given, and complete each of the evaluations. The school will be provided with all the food, seeds, bushes, materials to complete the intervention activities. Of the 150 students in the intervention population, it's hoped that at least 90% of them complete each of the 4 evaluations. In order to evaluate the study's objectives and make conclusions about the results, 2 evaluation techniques will be put into place. During weeks 1, 8, and 17, the intervention and the control groups will complete a health behavior survey and a 24-hour recall in order to monitor and evaluate their fruit and vegetable consumption. The hopes is that the students will meet the MyPlate Daily recommendations and that 50% of them will meet the recommendations for fruit and vegetable intake. Students will also be evaluated at the end of the school year in order to monitor their maintenance of fruit and vegetable intake. The 24-hour recall has been adapted from those used in the child and adolescent trial for cardiovascular health. It has been proven to provide valid estimations for group intake, although it has been found that on occasion, children tend to overestimate their fruit intake. This is what the health behavior survey looks like. I know it's a little small, but you can see some of the examples of questions. It asks, like, how many servings of fruit and vegetables do you usually eat in a day? Which you can see right here. And the options range from none to 6 or more servings per day. And then there are other questions that require answers that are ordinal and ranked from not at all confident to extremely confident. And those are questions like eating 5 servings of fruit and vegetables every day, which are the things that we're looking for in the survey. The Health Behavior Survey was created by Dr. James Salas and has been proven valid in several settings. The questionnaire measures a variety of factors related to fruit and vegetable consumption, as well as the students' perceptions of their need for fruits and vegetables, which is what we'll be using to evaluate their self-efficacy. The data that's collected from the Health Behavior Survey and the 24-hour recall will be analyzed by calculating the percentage of children who increase their fruit and vegetable intake from baseline to follow-up to meet the recommended intake of MyPlate, which, if you remember, is 1 to 1.5 cups per day of fruit and 1.5 to 2.5 cups per day of vegetables. The results from the intervention group will be compared with the results from the control group to test the validity of the intervention program. The Health Behavior Survey will be analyzed in order to monitor the students' attitudes towards changing their intake and how it has differed over the course of the intervention compared with their actual intake. In order to best analyze the results, statistical tests will be used. To evaluate the hopefully increase in fruits and vegetable intake, I will use a regression line which will look similar to the image below, with time on the x-axis, which is the independent variable, and fruit and vegetable intake on the y-axis, which is the dependent variable. This will use the data collected from the Health Behavior Survey and 24-hour recall to determine if there was an increase in fruits and vegetables over time. It'll compare the baseline to week 8 to the follow-up and the end of the school year. I will also use this data to collect the percentage of students who meet the MyPlate intake recommendations for fruits and vegetables, which will determine if the main and secondary objectives of the study are reached. Along with this regression line, I will also use bivariate correlations between attitude and fruit and vegetable intake from the Health Behavior Survey. This will allow me to monitor the changes in self-efficacy and how the children felt about increasing their fruit and vegetable consumption throughout the intervention. In order to ensure that the behaviors learned throughout this intervention will continue after the program is over, several steps will be taken. This intervention is based on the social cognitive theory, which states that behavior change is influenced by thoughts, behaviors, and expectations. Using this theory to change the students' behaviors rather than just teaching them will be the first step in ensuring sustainability. As mentioned earlier, repeated exposure is vital to increasing fruit and vegetable intake among school-age children, which is why there are several lessons and taste tests throughout the program. This will allow the students to be exposed to fruits and vegetables that they may not have the opportunity to try in other situations. The goal of this study is to increase the percentage of children who meet the MyPlate recommendations to 50%, and that these students will continue eating the recommended intake for their lifetime. It's through fun activities like gardening and cooking that the students will learn lessons that they will remember for a lifetime. Thank you for listening to my presentation.